Hello, my name is Jared Morris, and this is Settled Christianity, coming at you today with the 16th day of the Holiness Challenge. We've now officially started on the downward slope of second half of the month. You've now completed more than half of the challenge. And today I want to give you an idea, not really connected with one specific verse. I'm sure you could probably find a verse for this idea, but just an idea just coming through all of the Gospels specifically. This idea, what I'll say is that there's been an idea that has been introduced by, I think, bad churches that's not really that knowledgeable about the biblical idea of holiness, and really I think it's a demonic idea that has been introduced to lead Christians astray. It's this idea that holiness is isolation. That if you want to be holy, you have to shut off the world from you. But really, as we find in the Gospels, and this is, I didn't want to point out one specific verse. It's just that the entire theme of the Gospels is Jesus interacting with lost people, interacting with thieves and liars and murderers and those who are possessed, those who had awful people who had awful reputations of harlots or go into all of it. All these different stories that we find in the Bible, prostitutes, as we see some people. What we find is that Jesus never isolated himself from them. And what I'm getting across is that holiness is not isolation, but it is separation. And I've heard it said that it's very much so like oil, where you can mix oil and water in together, but they won't stick together. They'll be in the same glass together, but they will be separated. And what I find is that there's so many churches that push this idea of isolation, that we have to be so cut off from the world. I think there's a lot of examples in history. I believe you look in, Central Europe, and you'll find a lot of those nations were really lost when churches gave into this idea of, we got to cut off from the world and we can't interact with them anymore. We have to pursue holiness and cut ourselves off from everyone else. And really those nations were lost because evangelism stopped and really interaction with the world stopped by the church. What I say is that you do not have to separate, you do not have to isolate yourself from the world in order to be holy. You just you can be in the world and not of the world. You just have to make sure that you are walking with God and you become a light in the world. And I will also say that this makes you a stronger Christian, and this solidifies your holiness. See, anyone can sit in a monastery and not fall into a sexual sin. It's because they don't ever see anyone but themselves. So they'll see just a few select people who are of the same gender, and they'll go their whole lives and never fall into sexual sin. But that doesn't mean that they're holy. That doesn't even mean they're disciplined. It just means they're isolated. I'll say that as an aside, just for note for this video. I know it's going to be a little bit longer, but I want to make that this is so true in teaching holiness as well. I've thought so many times that there's so many families that teach their kids not to steal or not to look at inappropriate things, but it's only because they might get caught, or it's only because their parents are there. The fact is as soon as those parents were not in the picture, they're going to do those things. The fact is that the Bible teaches us that people in Corinth, we'll probably talk a little bit more about this tomorrow, but people in Corinth and people in Ephesus and people in these cities lived in extremely wicked cities, but they were able to be holy and to walk with God, and therefore we don't have any excuse. And so that's really that's really what I want to give you today, is don't confuse isolation with separation. Be the stronger Christian to go into the world and be a light by walking with God in the world. Anyways, this has been Jared Morris, coming at you today with the 16th day of the Holiness Challenge. Just stick with it. Please subscribe. It really help us out. Like the video. And please share. I'd really like these videos to help as many people as possible. And come back tomorrow for day 17. I'm super excited. I'm looking forward to the next few days. And I hope you're excited. I hope you come back. Anyways, this has been Jared Morris with Settled Christianity, helping you continue in the faith.